back then, that didn't exist. So was that just a smear campaign for the people that were actually studying the science behind it, or did have eyewitness accounts of these phenomena?
In my opinion, the new way to keep secrets is to flood the marketplace of ideas with your own bullshit ideas and just flood it. The UFO community, it's a giant circus.
Like I said, I'm a skeptic. I don't believe in aliens until I actually, see some aliens.
Fight me, let's go. And I love asking people, have you seen any ghosts? Have you ever seen any UFOs? I haven't seen anything myself per se, but
yeah,
it's an interesting topic. It's more fun than most small talk
that you know of.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'm a skeptic. I don't, for lack of better terms, I don't believe any of that shit, but for some reason it just intrigues the hell out of me. I don't know why. It's the unknown, it's the what if. I truly don't believe any of it exists because it hasn't materialized as like cold hard facts to the public. But that's where I'm at. I'm just kind of a skeptic, interested in the different subjects.
So then the topic for today, UAPs, UFOs, whatever you want to call them, where like if it was a spectrum, either don't believe whatsoever or you're all in, right? Where would you put yourself on the spectrum? You said you're a skeptic, so.
See, that's a hard one, and I think that's why we're here discussing this. I can't just place myself right now. I mean, if you're going by spectrum of like, where do you stand? Are they real? Are they not? Well, yeah, I think they're real, but I don't think they're real as in terms of most people identifying them as aliens or, some lost civilization or some hidden world government, tech agency, or how many various rabbit holes you can go down. I do think they are present, but as far as going into these different rabbit holes, that's where I kind of close the door, and I'm just kind of waiting to see what has a bit more evidence to open that door.
So by present, you mean just present in the universe, in the galaxy somewhere, or like present here?
Like visually present, close up. I mean, we don't really have much as far as like aerial space view, outer rim kind of shots, as much as we do. Oh, I saw a UFO, or eye accounts, so to speak.
Got you. Okay. So I think if we were to suspend disbelief for a moment, say they are real, say the government does know something, to what degree, it's unsure. Because the first part of this was disclosure. And just so hypothetically there is something to disclose. What I just want to first define what disclosure is, or what you think it is. So we could have like a common definition to use.
Okay. Do you want to step back one step, and do you want to define UAP?
Yeah.
So unidentified anomalous phenomena, unidentified aerial phenomena, two in the same.
Actually, I do like, so I prefer UFO just like for nostalgic reasons, but UAP is the objectively better term. And I know it first started off as unidentified aerial phenomena, but it has since changed now to anomalous phenomena, which is, I think, even better, because then it accounts, it's the largest net that you could cast for atmospheric phenomena, stars, the cliche swamp gas explanations, like literally anything. If it can't be identified, that's a UAP. And then I think UFOs are just this sort of sub order, where, I mean, because the problem I had with UFOs is that, one, you are presuming that it flies, right? And that it's an object. So it's under some kind of power, and it takes up physical space, in this universe. And so UAP doesn't make that, that call. So I think UAP is a good term.
Do you think so? Do you think it broadened the term and it blanketed everything that everybody falls under? Is that kind of enclosing that sort of belief, that whole subject, by extrapolating it from aerial to anomalous? Could that be because also, we have different levels? There's space level, there's, above ground level, like air level, and then below the sea, we've seen footage.
USOs, all those
Yeah.
things. Yeah,
So
it's just the widest net possible that you can cast. For
okay, yeah, I would say that's a great explanation.
But obviously, like
go with anomalous
anomalous, yes.
for the sake of this podcast.
And then obviously, if you throw out UFO, I mean, I'll just take it to mean the same thing.
Sure, just for funsies.
I probably will too. I'll probably use them interchangeably.
Yep, sure, absolutely. I'm used to UFO. I've until this discussion, I've never used UAP.
Yeah, it feels more.
I'm old school. I'm 40 years old.
It feels like a clinical term, like you're talking to a doctor who's like UAPs,
exactly.
And you're like, all right, shut up, you nerd.
Takes the fun out of it. Yeah, you fucking nerd.
Oh man. Okay. So,
disclosure.
Yes, disclosure. So, what would disclosure mean? Like, now let's find a common definition for what disclosure would be.
So personally, again, you can take everything as a spectrum these days. Disclosure doesn't mean fully disclosing every little bit of information to the public. I truly believe, if we define disclosure, but also pair that with, would disclosure be a good idea? Do you want mass hysteria versus, order? Do you want the cold hard truth? Are you that type of person? It really depends on the person. I think that government needs to disclose that things are real if they in fact are real, and they also need to disclose that certain tax dollars have been allocated to the research and discovery of known fact. That should be about it. We don't need to disclose, these are 5'6", alien beings, green, very slender build, blah, blah, blah. Or, giants have been found in this exact cave in this location up in the Yukon. We're sending a team to go investigate, and then you have straggler people, kind of venturing off for themselves. I honestly think disclosure would just be telling the truth, but at the same time, letting people know that it is being discussed, that it's being investigated, etc.
Gotcha. Well, I'm all for just the full everything. Tell us everything you know. Maybe there are tiny little people, but maybe there aren't. But just tell us absolutely. So yeah, we'll discuss the ramifications of that type of disclosure in a second. But I just think just like the full comprehensive, just briefing about everything that you do know, right? But also part of it, I think, if there was something that they've covered up, engaged in misinformation campaigns, maybe there's some whistleblowers out there. I'm sure there are tons of people who think there are, and there might be, but that the government did dirty and they need to be held accountable for it. I think that would have to be part of the disclosure process. Director John Smith of whatever agency, was directly responsible for, shafting some guy who was a contractor, and he's like, hey, aliens are real. And, I don't know. and now this guy's homeless on the street because the U.S. government came after him for trying to tell the truth. There would have to be some form of accountability after this briefing, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see. I don't know. But so
I mean,
disclosure.
there's so much to discuss about it, and that's just within disclosure. Like that, we can take an hour on disclosure. But let's move forward because we got an hour. So the ramifications.
Yes.
What would you say? Okay, let's do something here. This is a hard one. Uh, take your what you feel you want. You want full
Yeah.
disclosure, and what are the positive and negative ramifications of you know would what you would want to see?
Of what I would want to see, or
Well,
what I think would happen.
what would you want disclosed? Well, what you would want to see disclosed, which is blow it open. So, what would be the
Yeah.
positive and negative ramifications of that?
Yeah, that there would be some giant hurdles. I don't know if you've noticed, but we've been pretty divided politically and socially lately. And
Yeah, I've noticed.
so so the old trope that the public could not handle disclosure, that everyone would freak out. I I'm not necessarily sure that would happen
Mhm.
in the way it might have, like, say, in the 50s, but today I think it would be more of a political and societal division where people are fighting over who should be in charge of this technology. So the government comes out, hey, we know about this stuff. We even have some of that locked away under a mountain somewhere. And so now, at least here in the United States, like in Canada as well, I'm sure you have your different political parties, and neither party wants the other to
Yep.
have control of that technology. And then you already have protests over these other minor social issues. And so the people on the left and the right, just regular citizens, are out protesting now because they don't want the other side. One side's a fascist, the other sides are, anarchists, or whatever the hell. And
Yep.
then I I I would wonder. I can't even make a call. Like, how would society deal with that? I think there would be a lot of political infighting, especially, the nuclear football, right?
Yes.
That
The
briefcase,
suitcase,
the
briefcase.
yeah,
Yeah.
the suitcase, the briefcase. All right, now we've added on another piece of technology that would literally that dwarfs that,
Mhm.
right? That would probably give you global domination if you could harness it correctly. And then there are other things that I've thought about, like what would Russia do? What would China do? Iran. What would there be? What would the global response be? I mean, I've written a bunch of
Yeah.
stuff here, and I'm just thinking. So I'm not sure what they would do. Some people like to think that Russia, China also have their own space programs, or their secret space programs. They have their own ships that they may have
Mhm.
picked up. I don't know too much about that, but I I I think they might try to make a move. I mean, I'm not saying there would be war. I mean, maybe there would not be. But I mean, if you're Russia or China, and if the United States can reverse engineer this stuff effectively, then the game is over. Then the United States runs the world, and Russia, China don't want that to happen. You know. So do they make a move
Yep.
before we can reverse engineer it? You know. I'm sure
Uh,
we would. Fuck. What do you think?
um, like I said, we have the already seemingly mass hysteria. I mean, you're going by world standards here. So social media is the big standard right now. People are letting social media trickle into the streets, but in their daily lives. But this war on woke has spilled out into the streets, and it's spilled out politically. And now you're seeing a rise in crime, and attention's being drawn, uh, to different areas. So I think bringing another thing into the mix, with this kind of magnitude, where spatially we're all infighting right now,
Mm.
as a society, and now you're bringing this foreign object into this community. if that's going to cause division, it'll cause division. If it's going to cause unity, it certainly will cause unity. It's really, you know, in my opinion, just I don't know. You kind of hold your breath and hope for the best if that were to be, you know, given to the public, fully disclosed.
I just kind of thought of this analogy, the kind of like the way you described it. It would be like, prisoners inside of a cage. Like you have a bunch of prisoners in a cage, and like Earth,
Hmm.
we can't leave Earth. I mean, not really, not yet. And
Can't afford to.
we can't afford. Yeah, we can't afford to. We don't really have the
Don't
tech.
have the resources for it.
Nope. And we're all fighting, and it's like we're all fighting over this crumb of bread.
Hmm.
And we're all
Yeah.
we're all hungry. We want this piece of bread, and then someone drops like a prime rib right in the center, and then everyone just really comes out swinging. I mean, they want that steak. So I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
you drop in this advanced technology like that. I mean, we're already fighting over stuff, so it would really
Yeah.
heat up tensions.
I mean, think about it. If we okay, let's take a lot of people think UFO as alien. Let's completely take that away for now and just focus on the tech. If we focus on the tech, now there's something that I can completely understand that you're talking about, this analogy of the steak.
Mhm.
You create anti-gravity without the force of wind or velocity, without the force of gravity, or without, you know, all the things that we know pertain to physics.
Mhm.
If there's something that can be left out yet still operate, that's a technology that's going to be up for grabs. And I believe that would cause wars because you're taking something that needs a resource to be able to run. If you can negate a resource to have it run, sky's the limit. Let's say we develop a thruster off of this UAP technology that's being discovered,
Sure.
and this thing doesn't require gallons upon millions of gallons of rocket fuel. That we can collide a couple particles together, or even one, and you have unlimited untapped energy, and you use that to thrust and boost your way through space and time.
Sure.
That's that's pretty substantial technology. Do you think do you think implementation of a technology such as that would cause mass hysteria? Do you think it would cause hope? Do you think it would politically divide people?
It would probably do all of that all at the same time in different people in different groups with different ideologies.
Because the human race is nuts.
Yeah, well, because we don't have a common enemy. I mean, we're our own enemies. Now, if there
I agree
was,
with that sentiment.
so I mean, like before, like the Russians and the Chinese probably would not see it as hopeful. They'd be like, "Oh, we're fucked." And then maybe people here in the United States and like our allies, they'd be like, "Yeah, man, this is awesome. We can do a lot of great stuff with this." And I don't know. Would we be willing to share it? Would we be willing to, bring in some of these other countries? I mean, maybe they wouldn't be so fearful if we were like inclusive of other countries to kind of help out. Like send us your nerds, your dudes in lab coats.
Hmm.
We'll all work together. Then maybe
Well,
it wouldn't
I
be so
think,
bad.
yeah. So if you look at the history of the human race, I mean, collectively, when humans collectively work together, that's when you see the most improvement within society, within technology. If you keep it for yourself, you have a different perspective or a different view from this group of people coming in and seeing your technology. I think if you allowed that, you would actually strengthen the tech industry. I think with that, the implemented of that kind of technology, I think there could be a lot of good come from that. if we're looking to navigate the planets, navigate the stars, that
Oh,
kind of
yeah.
stuff. If we can create something that doesn't steal our resources from the planet we live on, and we're able to, explore it, I think that's going to benefit mankind. Now it comes down to capitalism, but that's another discussion. Do they weaponize it
Oh, sure.
monetarily?
Yeah.
Do they, do they open source it? Who knows?
I think.
But for in that discussion, so you have technology versus, or sorry, the military versus science. They can go hand in hand, but for science purposes, if they came up with UAP technology and that was open to the public, what benefits do you see that we would have for science purposes?
What benefits would we have for scientific purposes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I just. I'm not sure. Well, we would be able to study planets better. If we could get up close and personal, we could, all of the stuff that's floating around out there, black holes,
Mhm.
stars, all that stuff, so that we could understand the universe we live in better and be able to survive in it better. You know, so just like understanding your surroundings, you're going to be able to survive better. You're going to be,
Mhm.
you know. And then maybe we could take care of this planet better, and then we could probably get resources elsewhere, so we wouldn't have to be digging into our own dirt.
I would say that's pretty big. You know, if we can go, interplanetary and start gathering resources than just Earth, then we have this vast untapped, universe that we keep talking about, but seemingly seems impossible to get to.
Yeah.
If you cross that bridge and you bridge that, I would say more than the sky's the limit for mankind at that point. We had a previous discussion before about how technology ramps. It doesn't
Oh
follow a
yeah.
linear path,
It's almost
right?
exponential in
Yeah,
its growth.
that
Yeah.
that was the point that you made in a previous discussion. But with that with that in mind, if we were to able to tap this technology that has been presented to us, uh, I think that could benefit mankind more than harm it in a scientific way. What about military?
Yeah, military. Uh, I mean, just weapons, man. You know,
Yep.
fuck, complete.
WMDs, man.
Not even like mass destruction. It'd probably be like galactic destruction. We're just we're just dropping black holes on people's heads and shit. You know. I mean, there must be some warlike alien species out there. I mean, what? Maybe that's us. Maybe we're the warlike species. You know?
Could be, right?
Yeah.
Look at home.
Yeah, well, it's always in the movies. The aliens are the bad guys. What if we're the bad guys? What if we're the ones that are like, we're out in space, and then we're like, hey, you know what? We didn't learn our lesson on Earth. We're going to go colonize some more. And we're just going
You
to.
know, have you ever seen a movie called Ender's Game?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I know it. Yeah. And
That
it's,
was
it's a video
that was a
game.
bombing
And
movie. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So essentially, for those of you that don't know, uh, humans have a space program, and these enlightened, kids or whatever are put through this program because there was an event where aliens inhabited Earth and they were looking for resources. Well, they took it as a threat, eliminated the threat, and created a space program where these elite kids are trained to identify and terminate this species at all costs. Well, spoiler, uh, they end up killing off this species, and right before the queen dies, implants images into this kid's head, Ender, who basically sees that they were just looking for resources. They were not a warring race. And the humans were the ones that created and built out their technology and ended their race because of fear. Uh, Militarily, if we did untap this kind of potential, this kind of power, I mean, you could be right. We could be the warring race that goes out and seeks and destroys, any world that's in our way, because those resources are now ours.
Well, that was like Avatar too. The
Yeah,
Avatar movies as well. I mean,
yeah.
except they looked a little more like us, but still, I was still rooting for the humans. Get those,
Oh yeah.
get those blue people out of here. That's
These are our resources.
This is our resources. I don't care if you were born.
Give me
here.
those.
Get out, dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. Hey,
I mean, disclosure wise, like, is there anything else you would disclose other than this is the tech we have? You can either, build it out scientifically and share it, or you can militarize it, or do both, and you can weaponize it,
well, I mean,
or bury it.
I mean, disclosure is just like letting people know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I don't think there's
well,
really much
right.
else to disclose then.
Well, yeah, I mean, now, of course, is it a good idea? I mean, I think we already kind of covered that. It was like, what would be the global implications of
Yeah.
actually revealing it? I'm not sure people who advocate for disclosure have necessarily thought through the full implications of what that would be. I think a lot of people have a rosy outlook. Like disclosure, I mean, we'll finally have the truth, but I think you just have to study the human condition and I don't know, look at the world how it is and try and think of what it would be like to have this giant juicy steak dropped into a cage full of prisoners who are starving. I mean,
Which is what would happen.
would we share it or would we try and destroy each other?
I don't know. I think it would be same,
It's not
in any setting. The .com era, the AI era. All these companies have startups, and then eventually it bleeds down into one or two, or maybe even three big tech companies that hold the patents.
Yeah.
Now, whether that's through government or would they, outsource privately? My guess would be privately.
Oh, yeah. Actually, I think we're going to get into that here in a second, into this almost next part.
Yeah.
I think the last thing about disclosure is just so how much do you think there is to disclose in the first place? I mean, did you even.
Personally, this is just me. I actually don't think they're disclosing shit. I think they're disclosing the absolute bare minimum. We just had the White House, or not the White House, sorry, the Pentagon state about a year ago, these things are real, these things exist. And that was really about it. A couple blurry images and stuff after years of denying.
Got you. No, is there anything to actually disclose? Is that do they actually have any secrets to give us? Do you have any?
I don't even know. Like we I don't know. I mean, as a guy down in his garage who's playing a basement with playing with fucking robots, making a YouTube comedy series. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't seen anything as far as evidence-wise to suggest that they have anything to disclose other than, a couple what-if scenarios. Great TV, great story, Bob Lazar's, and, Joe Rogan's and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm.
What about you?
Yeah, I don't know myself. I mean, at the very least, I think what we had kind of talked about this for a little bit before was that they have at least other videos from like proprietary cameras on jets that they're top secret. They can't. So at the very least, I'm sure there are other blurry videos out there that the government has that they can't release for security purposes. But as far as are there Bob Lazar flying saucers under mountains being studied? Fuck if I know. I mean, other than stories, there's no hard
Yeah.
evidence. I mean, it's all second, third hand stuff.
Hmm.
Deathbed confessionals. Nothing. I mean, supposedly like Roswell, there was like a piece of shrapnel. I think that was some of the first people to go there. Like maybe took a piece, but that's like, where's that? I mean, nowhere. I
Yeah.
mean, nothing physical. No blurry videos. Nothing else.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's really dependent on government. But first, let's define government.
Government. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Well.
What is government?
Well, I think what I meant was when people say the government, oh, the government's keeping the secrets, the government's doing this and that.
Mhm.
I think I personally like to be a little bit or want to be more specific. I mean, who are we talking about? We're probably talking about the Army, Navy, Air Force, CIA, DOD, maybe NASA, NORAD. The
All right. Yep.
the companies are not but the organizations that have a vested interest in the aerospace domain. All right, and it's obviously, and it's not the whole it's not the whole of each of these organizations. They're probably tiny divisions, tiny segments of these organizations that are even segregated from the whole of their regular organization that are doing this stuff.
So would you define government as strictly American backed and funded through taxation? And that's what I'm saying, because you can have security companies, but they can be private, but they're the experts. You have a company like SpaceX.
I do.
They are actually working with NASA,
So I've got
but they're private.
No, I personally have a few paragraphs here just on what it means.
Perfect.
When people say the government, obviously, I'm a bit U.S. centric. I mean, obviously, the U.S. I think plays a central role in this. Let's see.
Absolutely.
So what? I have to see what I start here, but I think, yeah. So we can start with what I first said about subsects of these United States governmental organizations. You can look at other governments. There are over 70 space agencies around the world. 16 of them have launch capabilities, obviously including Russia, China.
Mm-hmm.
Your own Canada does, but Canada is also a partner with the European Space Agency. They also help out over there. And then I was trying to think about, like, what about Air
Canada's the world's bitch.
Well, you guys are just so goddamn helpful. You're like, hey,
I'm just telling how it is, man.
Europe's like, hey, can you guys help us out? And you're like, hey, yeah, sure thing, pal. You want some maple syrup or whatever it is you guys say? I don't.
Yeah, you want some Canadian bacon? Sweet.
No, get that shit out of here. Your Canadian bacon pisses me off. It's just
Hey,
ham.
me too.
It's ham.
Bacon's fucking good. It's ham, fried ham.
Yeah. No, that's why the aliens aren't coming down, is because Canadian bacon. They don't want the Canadian bacon.
No, they want the real
They
shit.
want the real shit, dude. Yeah, no, but you're right. So I did also write down here that the military doesn't produce anything. They don't mine anything. They don't refine anything. They contract. Nope. They contract everything out.
Absolutely.
And so part of this, the government, I mean, we should probably change the term to, I don't know, the organization or whatever the hell.
Man.
Yeah, the man. So we could say, so the man.
Fucking man.
So like Google, SpaceX, Blue Origin, let's see, Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, like any big time government contractor.
Let's leave Virgin out because
Are they? Yeah, I don't know. Did they have government contract?
worst design of an aircraft if I've ever seen for a spacecraft.
Well,
I mean, yeah, it worked, but
part of me thinks like if these
I don't know.
companies are going into space, they're sending up satellites. Um, they
I met Bronson. That dude looked straight through me, like had no soul.
yeah.
That's just a personal experience,
He,
but
he looked through like
just soulless.
he was just
Like if I looked at you like this is how I looked. Just walk right past, just like this, like splitting hairs.
I don't know. Maybe he could just be a billionaire and not give a shit about the little peasants that.
That's my guess, but
You're in a
no, he I've met three billionaires in my lifetime with the job I previously had. I'll get into that later time, but that dude, something not right.
man. Yeah.
But all the space programs,
All the space crew, all the private companies that are in the aerospace, information, and defense industries. I mean, they would be privy to this information as well. I mean, if
yeah,
not, I mean, they would just
they
run.
have to be.
They would run into these things naturally on their own, right? So I'm sure there would have to be some kind of communication, but
Well, that's like hiring a contractor for your house and saying, we just want a reno.
yeah,
And then they get into it and
there's a
there's nothing but black mold everywhere and the electrical's been chewed through and it's not safe foundationally. So if you bring in, guys or any sort of equipment or whatever, then that's not safe. I mean, contractually, if you're building this technology, you're going to let them know if there's, this is going to happen or this is going to invade your
yeah.
space or, whatever.
So if we're gonna go with the renovation analogy here, I was thinking like, hey, we need you to fix up this house. Also, there are bodies in the wall, and maybe there's a ball gag, hidden in between the couch cushions. Don't say anything.
Sure. Don't look in the freezer.
Don't look in the freezer. Or if you have to fix the freezer, just here's a piece of paper, sign it. You don't say anything for the rest of your life.
NDA, right?
Oh yeah, I signed an
Yep.
NDA, but it was over for like
Oh, yeah.
yeah, but it was only for 5 years. I'm pretty sure I could talk about it now.
Okay.
So, but I mean, I didn't see anything spectacular anyway, so it's not anything anyway. But
Crazy American contractors.
yeah, it was basically just sitting down, drinking coffee the whole time, checking badges. It was a boring job.
Yeah.
It was nothing.
There you go.
Uh,
Was that security?
yeah, I was a security contractor in Afghanistan. I was at
Oh, shit.
Bagram Airfield. So that was the one that the United States abandoned before they abandoned Kabul. Because like so Bagram Air Base, that's the one where we had the I wasn't there when they shut it down. I was there in 2018. So
Okay.
way before the actual closing. But yeah,
Thanks for your service.
oh yes, I thank you for the coffee and the tax dollars for the coffee. Well, I'm sure you guys contributed to that base as well.
Oh, we did.
Oh yeah.
You just don't hear about it.
So yeah,
It's Canada.
yeah. But what were we? Oh yeah, contracting. I mean, honestly, it's kind of boring work, really. But
They would have to disclose any dangers. You're not going to sign, an NDA. You're not going to sign a contract, and then, oh yeah, we'll just do that. Walk into that,
oh yeah,
not knowing what we're getting into. So they would have to disclose that to the private companies that they are funding for, the research and development.
the private companies, the individual contractors. But man, the secret, right, gets. I mean, so many people hold it. I mean, you're talking about the governmental agencies, even if it's just the small departments within these agencies. Then you're talking about the private companies that are involved as well. A lot of people have to be in the know. And then globally speaking,
Hmm.
I mean, it really. I mean, there is a lot of credence to the thought that how could you keep a secret this big without it getting out? When you're thinking like on this level here, how does this not get out?
Well, that's kind of where we're at. Everything's got a camera. Everything's got a microphone. You know, the population of the world's fucking over 8 billion already. We're approaching 9 billion already. Like, how how can you stop any of this from getting out? Is that why the Pentagon, for all these years? I mean, like I said, I'm 40. I've seen for fucking years newscasts of UFOs aren't real. UFOs aren't real. UFOs aren't real. The government says they're not real. It's not real. Now all of a sudden in the pandemic, out of nowhere, the Pentagon just beautifully, quietly drops in there. These are real. We know they are there. We are, investigating them. We are aware they are there.
Yes, yes, and no at the same time. I mean, again, to go by UFO or UAP, the whole point is that they're unidentified. So yeah, I mean,
So do you believe that is a good enough level of disclosure from the government? Is that just skimming the surface, and why the change in the narrative? Why why is it all of a sudden now, yes, they exist after all those years of they do not exist? Is it because the tech is about to be revealed? Is it because they can't stop people from acknowledging that they themselves are seeing this, such as Arizona?
maybe
Oh,
it's so.
you know?
I think the old way of doing things, it's no longer. You can't do it anymore. This isn't the 1940s. It's not the 1950s. You can't just shut people up or just deny. The internet has changed things, and
Absolutely, I agree with that.
you just can't. So and I think what we mean when we say that the government says there are UFOs, they're just saying there's stuff out there that we don't really know what's going on. I mean, they had the UFO report, and they apparently ruled many things out, but there's still some things that are unknown.
Mhm.
But I think before, what was it that I said before about how do you keep this a secret? Or
Yeah, it was how do you just can't. You can't keep it under wraps anymore, just with
so,
all the avenues and all the eyes and all the ears on
so
everything. Like we're
well,
in
yes.
2023.
So you can't do it the old way, but there
Hmm.
is a new way, which is you flood the marketplace with competing narratives, and then so that
Okay.
the truth gets lost in the crowd, and then no one can tell which way is up, which one is the truth, and
Hmm.
each competing narrative is they're all varying degrees of credible. Some are the craziest thing you've ever heard. Some are
Yeah.
pretty reasonable, and then so the truth is nestled somewhere in this crowd, but you can't pick it out. And so I think that's the new way of keeping secrets.
I would agree with that. So when we talk about government involvement in this kind of thing, like what constitutes government? Who has the reigning authority? I mean, you have the White House, you have the Pentagon, you have the CIA, you have the DEA, you have the FBI, you have the RCMP, you have, well, you only have one, the RCMP. That's all we have
It's
in Canada. But you hear all these government agencies, and not just Canada and US. You're talking, British SAS. You're talking KGB. You're talking all these different government agencies for their, you know, respective countries. Who's got the reigning authority? I mean, is it expertise wise, or is it,
probably
up the ranks kind of thing?
it's probably who's got the most money, maybe who's who's got reigning authority. I think.
Like
Well,
like who has the actual authority in the US to depict what is a UAP, what is a UFO, what
Oh,
is it deemed an actual sighting, and you're going to have the White House mention things if things get pretty dire,
no,
but the Pentagon, like, is that the reigning authority on all of this UAP stuff, or is it NASA? Is it
no.
who would it be?
It would probably be the military, the White House, or I don't know. What do you guys have up in Canada? The Oak House or the Brown House?
We have a folded space program that was folded
Well, I like.
so that they were absorbed by NASA.
Did you guys have a presidential palace or something?
No, we have, Capitol Hill. I
Just
mean, just Parliament is what it's called.
I guess that kind of shows how American centric I am. Like, I don't even think about Canada usually on a daily basis. I just doesn't even enter my mind. No.
Man, it's just an imaginary line, same land.
Right. And I don't even think it's like people have said that, the president is just an elected official. So, I mean, he's only in for 4 years. He's not going to be in on this, which is true. I mean, right, he's an elected official, but it's also because the White House, the executive branch, his cabinet, they have so many other things going on. I mean, there's more than just UFOs going on. There are real world human-based problems. You have wars.
Absolutely.
You like housing, there are still homeless people out in the street, people that need help. So they're doing all of that stuff as well. So they're not going to focus on UFOs. I mean, so this would be delegated probably towards the upper echelons of the agencies that handle this. So like the Air Force or, DOD, they just, and then the president,
So like Homeland Security?
maybe Homeland Security. I'm not sure about that. I honestly,
So I, as a Canadian, I actually don't know what each of these agencies represent or do.
right.
I'm going by Hollywood standards. I mean, like national defense, national security is that the NSA? National Security Association?
Dude. All right. So,
I don't know.
all right. So, yeah, the United States, we have, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, the DOD, the ATF,
DEA.
the DEA, and all of these things. And each of them has a purpose that I have no fucking clue, man. There's entirely too many. I mean, that's where the term alphabet agency comes from, because there's so many of these things that I can't track them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Well, that's why I was asking, like, so if it came to a call, who's going to supersede who, or are they just bumping elbows? Is that how it works?
right.
Like,
Oh, so all right, so we
UAP wise, who's going to make that call throughout all of that? And I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No.
I don't know. If you don't know, then that's
So
totally
let's-
fine.
So let's set up a scenario here. All right, are we
Okay,
Like,
sure.
so there's a downed craft. It's weird as
Sure.
shit. It was doing some crazy stuff, and then it fucking exploded in electricity or something. And there are shards, and there are alien bodies. Who has jurisdiction?
Yeah.
So probably just whoever gets there first. I mean,
Okay.
that would be my guess. I mean, because I'm sure they're all going to have some claim. I'm sure there's all a legitimate claim. There's a legitimate claim that probably each agency could make. The Air Force could. Hey,
Okay.
it was in the air. And the same with the Army. This is over our sovereign territory. And then the CIA, says, oh, well, of course they were over. This is an intelligence thing. We need to know what's going on. And then
Absolutely.
the DOD, that's the Department of Defense. And maybe they could say, hey, Army, Air Force, we are the Department of Defense. We kind of oversee all this stuff. We're going to take this over. And then it's going to be like a fucking, pissing contest about, I don't.
Yeah. Who's going to take over the investigation?
Right, and the Navy,
Okay.
then the Navy is in on this, and so
What about research from each of these governments? I mean, I'm sure they're going to document and research just arriving on scene. They're going to have to. Do they share like intel with each other? Do they? Is it a pissing contest, as you said, where there's no sharing at all?
I would think there would probably be some. There would be some sharing. If we look at Bob Lazar, he was a contractor. He claimed to have been working under the Navy when he was working at the area that called S4 when he
Yep.
supposedly saw these crafts. So he was working with the Navy.
Okay.
So I think private enterprise would get involved at some point, or they would bring them in. Now, if the Navy,
I mean, they have surveillance, right? They would have to. It's like alternate eyes.
you know what? Actually, so now that I'm thinking about it, they probably would share. I would think because the
They would have to, right? Like it's all for the United States. They all operate for the United States.
I think that, but also not a lot of people would know. So there would be very few people you could go to with your problems, with your questions. Like, hey, we found this stuff. I mean, you can't just go around to like the big army or the big air force. You'd have to go. I mean, there are so few people that would be in the know that you could say, all right, let's get the army's team that does this stuff. Let's get them over here and see if they can help us out. So
Yep.
I think just trying to keep things as small as possible. They would probably ask for help, I would guess. I mean, honestly, I think you and I are just as much experts as pretty much anyone else because everyone here, I mean, on this topic is basically armchair quarterback in it. I mean,
It just seems like it.
well, yeah. I mean,
I mean, truly, like if these governments are saying, we're aware of them, I don't think they're experts in them. I mean, they would have the most information or data, but
well, I just meant like you and me trying to analyze this stuff. I mean, as outsiders, I mean, we're probably just as good as
dude, I'm in my garage drinking beer.
Is that? I thought it was I thought it was your basement. Hey, yo, my beer's bigger than yours,
Hey!
by the way.
Nice.
Mine's bigger than
Lone
yours,
Star.
buddy. Yeah, this is the national beer of Texas.
Full disclosure, my name is not Toby. I am Christoph. I play Toby, and this is not my basement. This is my garage, but it is the set for my basement.
I don't. Yeah. Did you mention it was your basement in one of your videos?
I did.
So that's probably where I got it from because I thought you were in your basement, dude.
No, it's just all like an online persona setting kind of thing. Yeah.
I don't know, man. You could have chosen a better name than Toby. I think. Like I know Toby from The Office.
Yeah. Toby from The Office. No. You want to know why I chose Toby?
Tell me.
It's off topic, but I chose Toby because the AI voice that I use for text to speech is easy on the text to speech. So when he says Toby, question mark Toby,
Yeah.
Exclamation Toby, any of that stuff, super easy on the AI.
Yeah. That.
It just sounds
That
easier.
that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. No, I haven't used my real name. I'm not sure I want to.
Hey, you don't have to.
Maybe
Your name's
it's
Sasquatch, man.
Sasquatch.
Fuck, look at that beard, man.
Oh yeah.
Yes, Sasquatch is real.
So far.
All right, so we've established that there are different governments. There are different
Yeah.
agencies, branches of the government. I would say the government is really just
Yeah,
the managing forces behind the U.S.
Yeah, I think I just wanted to it's fine to use it just when we say the government. I just thought it would be good to just know what I mean, what you mean when we say the government, because I like big government, your national government. I would say 99% of the people in the government, they don't know shit. I mean,
Of course not.
yeah,
Yeah, all the people in the Senate and the cabinet or whatever the hell they are, or Capitol Hill, or
which
you know even the White House, like they're not going to know.
Which, oh man, which is part of the problem is like the elected officials, and was another reason for non-disclosure. I can't remember. Uh, I I can't remember where, if I even asked this, or maybe it was something else that I thought of afterwards. But another reason for the relevant agencies, the involved agencies, for not disclosing would probably be to keep out like the government, the Congress, from getting up their ass. I mean, because as soon as you release, like we already talked about political infighting, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
there would be fighting between the different like sides of the political aisle, but they would also all be just like fucking so deep inside the government's asshole
Yeah.
that they would start to see light through teeth. You know,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
this is alien technology. They're going to be so far like just in these people's business. I mean,
Well, in our minds, alien technology
well,
that
well,
hasn't been
oh
disclosed yet.
yeah, all right, yeah.
For sake of reeling it in for the people that are more, realists. It's not alien technology.
So
It's advanced technology.
advanced technology, yeah. So
But
just yeah,
for the side that steps
technology,
over that
yeah.
line, which I fully respect. It could be alien technology. We have no clue.
Just
But yeah, I agree with you. They would weaponize it against each party.
well, they would yes, and obviously like so you Christoph, aka Toby, have a piece of technology and you've kept it a secret, and then you're like, I think this might be able to help people. Let me tell everyone about it. And then everyone's going to want to come in and give their 2 cents, and they're going to want you to be transparent about literally everything you do with it.
Yeah.
And so before you would probably be able to just make advancements faster on your own, but when you have to like just be audited like every day,
Well,
I mean, it's going to be a huge pain in the ass, and I'm sure that's another huge reason for not wanting.
I would agree. Yeah. I mean, look at Nikolai Tesla. What happened to him? He had all the ideas. Da Vinci, he had all the ideas.
I'm not.
But the disclosure of the genius to the person with the authority or the money, there's always going to be loss of translation, and that's why they have that. You become their bitch because you're the person that is the expert. You're the one that knows. So you are going to be under scrutiny. You're going to be constantly updating them on every little bit of advancement that you make. They
Yeah, I'm sure
they
that would be very tiring,
yes, absolutely.
and that's I don't know. To me, that's probably why another reason for why they would not want disclosure, and then they would have to go in and justify their budget. You know, again, I feel like I'm being a little too U.S. centric here, but yeah, I mean, you're gonna have to justify, your budget, what you're doing with it, what your plans are, and just having a black budget and doing what you want, or right. It's a double edged sword, man. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I think open source would probably be best, but I don't know.
I like open source. I'm just wired that way. I think that sharing is caring. Uh, when we talk about like reliance on the government for answers, not everyone's willing to discuss. Some people, you know, they watch TV 18 hours a day. They just take what they can get. They're just kind of zoned in. They're like, all right, this is what TV's telling me. This is what the government's telling me. They take everything word for word. And then you have the other people that, think for themselves, and the government will say this or put out their propaganda or whatever for that moment in time. But the government is the one with the resources. They are the one with the platforms. Do you take what the government says with a grain of salt, or you know, would you say we're reliant as people on the government? I mean, if this were to happen, how reliant should we be on the government? If let's say it were aliens, let's go that way. How reliant would we be as people on the government?
Probably, yeah. You said it before. They have the resources. I think they have the manpower.
Mhm.
So I don't necessarily see that there's any other choice. And I didn't think about this before, but I am kind of considering it now. Is that the government might actually be the lesser of two evils? In that, in theory, anyway, there is the possibility of accountability, that they would be subject to sort of congressional oversight, or by the people, by who we elect. Whereas, if because someone's going to have to physically have this technology, it's going to have to be in the
Yep.
physical possession of somebody. And so, if we
Yeah.
look, if,
Yeah. It has to be present. It has to exist.
so I think if we look at like private companies, like how safe do you feel with Facebook under Zuckerberg, unelected, basically this sort of corporate monarch who can decide, what the people see, what they don't see,
Mhm.
like unelected. I like Elon Musk. I think ultimately he'll be good for Twitter, but someday he's going to step down or leave, and then someone else is going to come in, and then who's in charge of this global, you know, platform, right?
Yeah.
So one person or a private entity that's unelected, I think is it maybe.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with your sentiment where, you know, a lot of people piss on the government. Government is necessary. Like, if we didn't have government within each of our countries, you'd have just mass mayhem. There has to be structure, there has to be infrastructure. What our governments and democracies allow is, parity between the two parties or the two sides. Some people end in the middle, whatever. But within this scope, rather than a complete linear dictator, you allow for that parity. And I mean, we're both YouTubers, but if you watch YouTube, they beat the piss out of the government every fucking day. And as an authority, that's insane. Like, you go back through history, if any of the peasants or anybody beat the piss, verbally out of any of the monarchy, you were hung or, mutilated or strung up in the streets, tarred and feathered, whatever. You were beat to shit. You were thrown in the stocks, whatever. So allowing the government to take that authority, that allows for scrutiny from us as citizens, and we allow ourselves to follow what they say or to navigate away from it and have a platform on our own and a voice. Hopefully that remains the same for the next 50 years with freedom of speech, but it allows everyone to kind of form their own opinion based off of the facts of the government.
Yeah. It's
So, do you think we are too reliant on the government for answers, or should we use that as our pivot to align our views, or should we use the government as a pivot to basically form our own opinions on these UAPs and UFOs?
um I think I don't know if we're too reliant on the government for handling this topic. The second part of your question, can you restate it? Use it as a
So
pivot point for.
yeah, so like should we are we too reliant on the government for their information, or should we use them as a pivotal platform, I guess, to align our opinion with them or to form our own opinions based on the information they give us? Should we take everything they say as word and it is what it is?
Well, obviously not. Fuck no. No.
But do you think government and having, like using the government for answers to form your own answer, do you think that's
They should be a factor, not the deciding factor, just a factor.
okay?
Yeah.
I would agree with you.
Yeah. I
I
think
think
most people
I
would.
think giving the government too much power to just say it's this, you should do that, etc., is dangerous. I like relying on the government for certain things because of their resources, because of the coverage. It doesn't necessarily mean that I rely on truth from them. It just I rely on the facts or what's been presented, and I'll make my own opinion from
So
that, such as the spy balloon.
so you expect them to at least do the job?
Yes, they have to have coverage of the issue, or else why would I believe the thing you say if you have no irrefutable proof or visual coverage? You just come out in a press conference and say, "Yeah, there's UAPs. Just be aware that there's UAPs. Thanks, no questions."
All right, so you need them to have a track record that you can look
Yeah,
at, and okay, to give them some credibility in this.
yeah.
Yeah,
What do you think?
dude.
Do you rely on government, or do you
Well,
basically use them to collect your own, view and opinion of what's going on?
no, I wouldn't say I rely on them. The only thing I think like I would just use them as a factor. I mean, they're honest people who are in this. I'm sure there are actually plenty of government employees who genuinely, are interested in this topic and would study it in good faith. And if not for some of the, essentially getting hamstrung by stuff like NDAs, would probably tell us more than, would
Yeah,
like to tell us more.
yeah.
But
I don't know. I look at the government as a source of very generic information. And
yeah,
with that very generic information, I
that's
will
also
form my own opinion.
I can kind of see the dilemma here because you have to. I mean, because all right, so you are the government. You're like you're the big G. You're the government, right? And so when you're going to come out with some information like, hey, we think there might be aliens. I mean, people are going to take you seriously. I mean,
They're gonna, well, they're gonna have to.
well,
If
yeah,
it's a
yeah, exactly.
public service announcement.
Because you're the big G, and so, I mean, you have to be careful. So I think a lot of people do get frustrated when the government kind of plays these games where they're, you can tell a lot of the officials, the media facing ones are uber conservative with their words, that they use. They use a politician's their words, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of that is for a reason. I mean, because if you say the wrong thing and things turn sour, I mean,
Yeah. You get hauled off, and no
well,
one sees you ever again.
well, no, I mean not that, but I mean it has real world implications for
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
citizens,
it does.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, what are the chances of like a global government conspiracy cover up of
Yeah,
aliens or UAPs or whatever,
dude.
what have you?
It's
Do you think it's possible
well, anything is
on a global
possible.
scale?
Anything.
Like on a global scale, though, that the lay people of mankind, humankind.
Fuck, dude, fuck Trudeau. What that fucking
Yeah, fuck Trudeau.
yeah,
People kind.
people kind. Yeah, okay, all right. Shut up, you little wavy haired bitch.
Fucking mankind. Do you think mankind has a global conspiracy cover up happening at this moment because the government doesn't want us to know?
A global, 'cause we kind of covered who the players might be. Would be all of the space agencies, the
Yeah,
governmental from all over the world. I mean, including Russia, China, and
even Musk,
yeah,
even the privates.
all the private entities. I feel like it's highly unlikely. Which
I I would agree. Uh, how do you, how do you form a narrative on a global scale? And anyone with a camera, anyone with a microphone, you're talking like doorbell cameras, you're talking like everything, eyes on fucking everything. How how can you perform a global cover up on a mass scale to 99% of the people? I just don't think you have the resources for it. You don't have the manpower for it.
Well, all right. So you don't need the manpower. Because we also covered one of the aspects was that, in my opinion, the new way to keep secrets is to flood the marketplace of ideas with your own bullshit ideas and just flood it. And technology, like bots on the internet that write nonsense comments. And there are, I don't know to what extent the United States has a bunch of people trolling, like government agents, in an office somewhere, just like surfing social media websites,
Yeah.
and like trolling and just putting stuff out there. But you don't need that many people, I wouldn't think. So I don't think you wouldn't need to control the narrative, or like, I don't think it would be that hard if you can just obfuscate.
I'm gonna differ with you on that one.
You son of a bitch.
Yeah, I know. Fuck. But the reason is YouTube is fucking huge, and so is TikTok, and so is Twitter, and all the social media platforms. You have anyone out of like you have a small portion of resources to control literally like 7.58 billion people
I would
with a
say
camera. How would you do that?
I would say more like 6 billion. Okay, because not everyone has a camera. There's a lot of the world that is
Dude,
poor.
the Amazons that eat people, I'm sure those guys have cell phones. Like full disclosure, I downtown Vancouver with all the homeless tent cities, sorry for you guys, but if my wife and I go out to eat something, I'll usually, not bites taken out, but I'll give like a fresh meal, what I take home to a homeless guy. And usually they look pretty bad. So I hand it to them, and you walk a block and you look back and they're on their cell phone.
Yeah.
Like so many people have a fucking cell phone. And it doesn't have to be an iPhone, 12, 13, 14. It can be iPhone 7. It can be an Android from 5 years ago, but there's a camera everywhere.
This
How do you
is
suppress that?
this is the Neil deGrasse Tyson makes this argument.
Okay.
Yeah, he makes it. He makes this argument, and he's, I mean, he's a smart guy. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
but look, I would say first off, look at the cameras that the military has used to photograph some of these, or to take video of some of these. And I'm just playing devil's advocate against what you're saying,
Sure. Whatever, man.
just for the sake of it. So I mean, even military cameras churn out blurry videos.
Yeah.
And smartphone cameras are pretty darn good up close. And you can take pictures of cityscapes from afar. But I mean, some of these supposed, craft, whatever they may be, are usually
Mhm.
far off, fast
Yep.
moving, you know, not in ideal light conditions. And then, this is all digital as well. This isn't a film. It's not literally, it's not a piece of film, which, I don't know. I think it might make things better. I can't remember how, if film would be better at long distances, but
I don't know that. If you have
well,
digital zoom, it's bad. You
yeah,
want optical zoom. The actual lens itself wants to
yeah,
make
yeah. Oh, yeah, the optical
the
zoom.
image.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Digitals. Yeah, so these cameras have digital zoom, and it's just they're
Yeah.
relying on the software, and
True.
so then you get a lot of visual noise in these videos. So I mean, unless these craft were to be up close, then I don't really see. Yeah, I don't think that the cell phone excuse has that much weight just yet. I mean, I could be wrong. So if you were to get multiple people, and I'm sure, I'm sure there's someone out there would be saying that, oh, well, there is an instance where multiple people in the same area pulled out their cell phones and they got it at different angles, but I don't know.
Like, okay, was it Arizona? Was that like 1997 or?
Oh, you're talking about the Phoenix Lights.
Yes.
Hmm.
Yeah, that shit.
Yeah, the Phoenix Lights. I don't.
Let's use that as an example, okay? Because that was pretty fucking massive. Like that was a big V flying through the air, and you have all these eyewitnesses. You have video all over YouTube, uh, TikTok, whatever. But all these different angles, different eye counts from people. Yet, but could that have been, like those floating lanterns that people raise into the sky?
No,
You light a
no,
candle and it floats.
no. I mean, it was
You think it was just a big,
it was too tight of a formation.
just a cute angle, perfectly flying through the air, stopped, and then just like dissipated.
I would look at where I mean there could be some kind of test flight for some of these experimental aircraft out of say Groom Lake Area 51 area.
Okay.
You know.
Do you so would you classify that as a UAP?
Yeah, of course. I mean, like if it is in the sky or and it's unidentifiable, that's a UAP. I had a video before. Like I don't give a shit if it's a bag in the wind. If you don't know what it is until you find out that it's just a piece of trash
Yeah,
getting carried in the
then
sky,
it's UAP.
it's a UAP.
So here's a good question then. Okay. Let's say 51% of the population identified what it is.
Right.
Is it now a UAP or has it been identified? At what point is it no longer a UAP unless you're like given the okay from the government?
Well, no, the government doesn't have to give it to you.
So then who's going to give that, going from a UAP to this is now this?
So on some level, it would be individual. Like if you don't have an internet connection, and you saw and you saw something in the sky, and you're like, I don't know what that is, but it's crazy. And then
I'm from Iowa.
yeah, and then some other person but the internet's a thing, and everyone else knows what it is. Obviously. So on an individual level, yeah, sure, that would be a UAP to you. But sure, we could. I think it could even be 99% of people don't know what it is. But if there's like one guy who is just really good at math and he can trajectories and like speed and like range, and he's like, okay, this is probably a plane or a bird or something. I mean, it's I'm not sure what the correct answer for that is. Is it a majority of people, like you said, the 51%, or is it
Oh
just
no.
I think the truth would get picked up pretty, because I think people enjoy dunking on other people entirely too much.
Yeah.
So the one guy or the one lady, whoever, the big brain nerd who figures it out and post it on the internet, be like, oh, I figured out what it is. I feel like it would get picked up and passed around, and everyone who, just either enjoys dunking on people or, is just all about being objective, they would
Yeah.
pick it up, pass it around. And so, you know, um,
Yeah. Well, I would classify it as a UAP. I mean,
well, of course, until it, yeah.
that's the one that I love to follow. Like I said, I'm a skeptic. I don't I don't believe in aliens until I actually, see some aliens. I don't believe we are the only species in existence, but I don't think we've been visited and probed, and there's some secret agenda with the lizard people and all that kind of shit. The Phoenix Lights to me is the most documented, or one of the most documented UFO experiences or UAP experiences in history. And it was interesting, but until there's some light shed on it, I don't know. I'm not going to say it's alien. It could be government under the cover of darkness. Who knows?
Well, yeah.
Like at night.
Oh yeah, no, it was at night, and I'm pretty sure it was at night. I know
Yes,
the
at
video.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just so many different camera angles. I mean, I I need visual representation, and that was on a somewhat sizable scale.
Yeah. There's there's also like the Zimbabwe incident with all the school kids.
Yeah, actually, yeah, that was a big one.
That one's insane.
It is insane. You know, now actually, I just watched a couple documentaries earlier today, just on YouTube. But you're looking at like documentation through history of different cultures where you know they document the moon wasn't in existence, and then all of a sudden it arrived. Or that's another story.
No, those people are the fucking worst. Holy shit. Yeah, the moon is a giant spaceship. It's like
Yeah,
two
it's a
billion.
Death Star.
It's a 2 billion-year-old spaceship that the Martians took to escape Mars. Dude,
Yeah.
that is the most insane narrative, and I love it.
It's fun, huh?
Dude, it's so fun. It's so
Yeah,
fun.
it's just a good time. So okay, let's take Phoenix Lights for example, or even these kids in Zimbabwe. But like the history and the culture of the UFO community, do you think like this positively or negatively impacts all of this kind of discussion?
Yeah. I think it's mostly negative.
You think it's got a negative connotation, like you're batshit crazy because you
Well,
think
no, well,
aliens exist, kind of thing?
it's all right. So whenever the news just has a way, well, I mean, it's intentional. They just pick the craziest people to interview and the craziest stories. Like, have you ever seen like a story of like a house burning down or something crazy that happens out, and they always go up to like the craziest person in the crowd and be like, "What do you think about
like
this?"
like kids like turtles and shit.
Yo, dude, or yeah, no, it's
Yeah.
they always pick like the craziest people to interview, but the UFO community. So it's a giant circus. And,
That it is.
and so at its best, it exists on a spectrum of there are people like Mick West. I don't know if you're aware of him. He's a pretty
No.
he's a pretty
Let me look.
he's a pretty sober minded individual. He was a video game programmer. He was involved in like the Tony Hawk Pro Skater game when that came out on, like, I think it was like the N64. And but
Okay.
so as a programmer, he had a lot of experience with like 3D space and like graphics and stuff. And he became interested in some of these related topics with like UFOs and contrails and stuff. And so using his knowledge that
Okay.
within the programming space, he started looking at a lot of this stuff, and he's debunked, looked at, analyzed, especially like the three major videos that everyone still likes to use for some reason: the Go Fast, the FLIR one, and the which one was it? The Go Fast, FLIR, and Gimbal videos. Like he looked at those. So there's people like him in the UFO community. That's he's all about the facts and trying to be as objective as possible. And then you go to the other end of the spectrum, and then you have people talking about reptilians and
Yep.
reptilians, ancient bloodlines, like all that stuff. Or I don't know if you know who Corey Good is, or
Sounds familiar, actually.
yeah, like I had mentioned this in our previous conversation. The children getting abducted from their beds, conscripted into the space military,
Yeah.
fighting on
the
Mars. Yes.
Mars wars, and then get
Yeah.
de-aged and thrown back into their bed back in time, so that
So yeah.
people never notice the difference.
So yeah. So I think at best it's almost a spectrum, but like I'm not even sure it's necessarily a spectrum. To me it kind of feels more like this kind of three-dimensional Venn diagram of these disparate beliefs in like reptilians, and then Bigfoot makes an appearance, and there are all these 3D circles that kind of come together like sometimes, and these people just exist in these multiple weird bubbles, and it's always, I don't want to say the worst people, but like the most exotic, narratives.
Yeah, that's a good description. Yep.
And
Like exotic in their
beliefs,
description or beliefs.
Yeah, beliefs.
Okay.
And just the stories that they propagate. And,
Okay.
And so that's, I think, part of the reason why the general public has this negative view of the topic. I mean, that's whenever you bring it up. I mean, I think nowadays it's more acceptable to talk about it, around the water cooler, so to speak. But especially back at, but
well, I mean, when the Pentagon comes out and actually forthcoming says these are in existence, as a public, that's the indicator that that's okay. You're no longer batshit crazy. Mm-hmm. The government has acknowledged that they exist.
But
I would agree with that. Yeah.
And before that, people they scoff, roll their eyes. You like
exactly
as a scientist or a serious researcher. I mean, wouldn't touch the subject with a 10-foot pole. So
that's interesting, because my background, full disclosure, I fixed helicopters for a living. So we did, velocity, we did aerial, physics. You have to learn all that kind of stuff, or else the aircraft is going to fall out of the sky. Yeah. So you have to learn theory of aerodynamics, all that kind of stuff. So these people that research the UAPs, they're kind of like caught between, a rock and a hard place, because they don't give a shit about, like, are they aliens, or, are we being visited? They want the science. They want, how is that, gaining speed from here to there in such a short amount of time? How did it gain that much velocity? How is it, able to continue to operate below, ocean levels or mid level or, in space when, air operates differently from water, operates differently from a vacuum, which is space. So the science is there, but I don't know. I can see your point where people don't want to attach their name to that kind of stuff, but at the same time, that's where, the gravy is. That's where, the interest is in studying how you could possibly further that or debunk that.
Yeah. So I think we could probably agree that the crazy people ruined it for a little while.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, but also, I mean, was that a narrative that was pushed out that they are crazy? I mean,
Ooh, good point.
was
Good point. The government's calling
was
it.
that a
Yeah.
government narrative, or was that the community's like, you're fucking crazy?
Yeah, that a disinformation campaign to delegitimize, you know,
As you just said, they flood the markets now with disinformation or alternate narratives, and it kind of gets lost. Back then, that didn't exist. So
sure.
was that just a smear campaign
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the people that were actually studying the science behind it, or did have eyewitness accounts of these phenomena?
yeah. I think that's a good point, but fuck, I'm
I don't know. I have no fucking clue. I don't know.
like, what's
But as far as the UFO community goes, is you
yeah,
and I grew up hearing or understanding that anyone who talks about UFOs are nuts. You're old enough to understand that. You're not 21. I don't know how old you are, but you're obviously not 21.
what
I
you
hope not.
oh you
But I'm fucking 40. Like back in the 80s, 80s, 90s, it was you're crazy. And I'm sure it was the 70s and 60s as well, but
oh for sure yeah I have plenty of files. I have the modern equivalent of like files upon files in my computer now. Like back in the 90s, there were like an X Files. Fox Mulder had like he had all the stacks
yeah.
of drawers and shelves and whatnot. But now we can
Mhm.
keep all of these in our computer, and so I've got a bunch of stuff on my computer. You know, and I've got stuff from the 60s, the 70s, different reports, and I mean,
Keep that. Those are going to be hard to find, and
I well no
you're building your own library.
I think they're becoming easier to find. I mean,
Oh yeah,
because everything is becoming digitized these days.
that is true. Like microfiche is becoming digitized.
Yeah, no, it's if you know where to look in the internet, or if you're persistent enough, you can find a lot of stuff.
Mm.
So I've got news digitized versions of news clippings. I've got personal reports. I mean, there are plenty of sites that are just like dedicated to offering this stuff. And so I've got, like I said, the digital equivalent of just shelves and shelves of different stuff that I don't even have enough time to look through them all.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
So all this stuff that you have that you've grabbed in history, like in the 70s, 80s, even 60s, those people were ostracized because they were batshit crazy, and the narrative was, no, that's not real.
so you know what? I think
Do you think that's now relevant because we're in 2023 and the discussion has to be had? Like, do you think it supports
well,
uh,
first
their claims rather than like because of time?
first I think maybe the people in the 60s and 70s might have been a little bit crazy, because when the quote unquote the rational people, the normal people, are maybe they would have been interested in the topic, but it was kind of taboo, so they just didn't bother with it. The only people left are the crazy people, and they could be legitimately a little bit off their rocker, and then so that only adds a little bit of more fire, or a little. It makes the problem worse.
So like a guy like Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar, oh man.
It's a hard one, right?
That's a hard one to reconcile. This whole topic is hard to reconcile, and we had stated it earlier, where you don't have any hard evidence. There's nothing you can hold up. There's nothing physical that is available to the public. I mean, we have second and third hand accounts. We have blurry videos.
Always blurry videos.
Yeah,
always.
It's always blurry videos. And Bob Lazar, it sounds credible. It sounds credible.
It does sound credible. I mean, he's the only guy with a full-on structured story that has not changed for years.
And I'm not gonna
decades.
And I can't call the man a liar because I have no idea. I know the one thing I do want to look into, just for my own self, is because the one thing about Bob Lazar is people keep stating that his story has not changed since he first came out, and maybe that's true. But I think just for myself, I'm gonna look at his first interview was in 1989 with George Knapp, and it's available on YouTube. So I'm gonna watch all those and then compare his interviews today with like Joe Rogan, and and like. I don't like it when people say stuff like that. They're like, oh, his story hasn't changed, because I feel like a lot of people are just parroting. They're like they heard the term, he hasn't changed his story, and then they go off and they say the same fucking thing. Have you watched and compared what he said in '89?
Physically myself?
Well,
no, I haven't.
Yeah,
no, full disclosure, I haven't.
Yeah. Just for the general public, and neither have I yet. But that is one of the things that I want to do, and
yeah, good on you, man. I mean, anyone that's willing to put in the research, to me, has more credibility than someone just spouting what they've heard or seen. And that's what you say with second and third hand accounts. Oh yeah, I know this guy that saw a UFO, or I know this person or my grandma or my dad had a first hand account with this aircraft happening, and he was ported up for 3 hours one night and probed, and now he's glad that we're safe. But until you do your own research, it's a means to an end.
It's just one of these things that's hard to reconcile, because I mean, he doesn't seem like he's lying, and it sounds like he's telling the truth. And then you compare, and then you add that to all of the other just sightings and even the blurry videos, if you want to add that in. And you say, oh, all of this, it sounds compelling, but then on the other side, there's no hard evidence. So then you're just left in this limbo of like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
But
I mean, he certainly sounds like he believes it. Like he hasn't really changed in multiple videos that I've seen him do an interview. I haven't actually written down and paid attention to the narrative throughout all those, but
sure.
in the few videos I've seen, it sounds like the information hasn't changed. He may have more information in one than another. I don't know. I haven't paid attention to that. But if you're willing to put in the research, then I'd definitely be interested.
Well, yeah, I'm not doing anything else with my time. I might as well watch some old interviews, right? No, but
life of a YouTuber.
Dude.
Yeah, so like
I think we were still talking about the UFO community, and I think they do a disservice, and I mean still do a disservice. I think they are one of the things holding back the topic. I mean, because
how so?
Well, I think the most popular show on aliens is Ancient Aliens, and that thing is complete garbage. That dude, dude, Giorgio Tsoukalos, like that guy is dope. I like that guy.
Yeah, he is. It's totally funny. He's like,
But he's weird as shit. He's
yeah,
weird as
he's
shit. I love it.
just aliens.
Ugh.
Oh man.
Um,
But yeah, I agree. I mean, it's overproduced.
well,
The information just does not give anything. It just skims the surface.
and another problem with the UFO community is that they're so emotionally invested in this, and they are
Yeah.
all right, so they're skeptics themselves in the opposite direction. Anything the government wants to come out with, they're like, nah,
Mhm.
they're lying to us.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're skeptics. They'll believe anyone basically who's not the government. I know I'm generalizing here, but and then they hold up these people like Dr. Stephen Greer. I mean,
Mhm.
and he's a doctor. He's got a PhD. He was a physician. So you would think, I mean, he's got the critical thinking capabilities to really look at this phenomenon and give a sober assessment. But then, like he's leading these UFO summoning like groups. Like I think there's something called Contact in the Desert, where I mean I think they all sit in a group and just try and like will a fucking UFO to just like appear, and like
He's leading this?
this is yeah, like part of what he does is I don't even know how they so
Okay.
yeah, I'm
So
sure there's going to be some fucking UFO person who's like, you don't know what Stephen Greer does. They sit in the fucking desert and they try and think about UFOs together in a group and summon them, and then that like he has a PhD, and that sounds ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
even crazy people can get PhDs. It doesn't really matter. I mean, you can get any sort of certificate. You can be batshit crazy. You can be a sociopath. You can still get a PhD. So I mean,
I think I
I
was.
understand the credibility is supposed to be there,
Yeah.
but I don't know, man. Like
So I
having an ayahuasca moment in the desert with UFOs and this what's his name, Stephen Greer guy.
Dr. Stephen Greer. I mean, yeah,
I,
he's a physician. He has a PhD. You know, he had patients, so that's more than I can say for myself. But I think the UFO community puts their faith. They're like they hold up these, like there's a whole bunch of people that they hold up for the rest of us to look at and be like, hey, this guy, he knows what he's talking about. This information that he's putting out is credible, and a lot of it is bullshit. I suppose. I mean, there's a couple of people. There's like there's Tom DeLonge, Blink 182. I like him
yes.
too. I think he's awesome. But I mean, he hasn't delivered. I think he came out in 2015, 16. He had the To the Stars Academy, and so he was working on disclosure. He had contacts, high level contacts. There was White House Chief of Staff, John Podesta. I mean, this is like a serious government official that he was at least in contact with, and so, but then,
Wow.
Like, where is it, Tom DeLonge? Where's the disclosure? Where's the information, right? There's Luis Elizondo. That the UFO community is kind of like when he came on the scene, they're like, oh my, like this guy was in the government. He worked for the DoD, like the Army counterintelligence stuff. And he was like the director of ATIP. Well, kind of, but not really. How much do you know about Lou Elizondo? Do you know?
Not much. No, I'm I know the basics. I don't know like deep into the UFO community and research, but like who's the guy that Joe Rogan had on? It's got like the gray beard dude. Uh,
Gray beard dude.
fuck his name. Not Tim Pool, not Bob Lazar. What's his name? He had the documentary.
The documentary.
Yeah, he was just
Oh, You're not talking about George Knapp, but I think you're talking about.
Were you talking the other day about Mikio Kaku?
Michio Kaku. Yeah, he's like a
Michio Kaku.
he was on there too. He's a physicist. That was a little while ago.
Okay. Yeah,
But
I like that guy. Jeremy Corbell.
Jeremy
That guy.
Corbell, yeah, that guy.
I think he's full of shit.
Jeremy Corbell is another one.
That's a personal opinion. I just think he's full of shit. He's never produced any hard evidence at all. He's an interesting guy to listen to, but I put him in the same category as a lot of these UFO community activists where it's like a monetary incentive. It's like its own little cult where, you're drawing money out of this little group kind of thing.
There's certainly a lot of room for grifters in this on this topic. Jeremy Corbell, he seems genuine to me in his interests. I definitely
I'm not questioning his interest.
sure.
I'm questioning the motive behind the interest, which is, to me, seems like money.
It could be, yeah, for sure. For sure, it could be money, and I think if you're being objective, you have to consider that option for sure.
Yeah.
Jeremy Corbell, I think people who have been in it for a while, like Dr. Stephen Greer, like Jeremy Corbell, they have been in it for so long that it's almost like they have so much momentum. They've gained so much momentum in researching this stuff that they completely just pass by like contrary information that would maybe divert.
Do you think it's because of that's been their interest for such a long time that they're monetizing it, and that's the way they get paid, is because they're part of that community, like that's their job? Or do you think they saw a loophole and they're basically taking the UFO community and making money off that?
I can't discount that. I can't discount that. I think at least with Jeremy Corbell, it seems that. All right, so there's a phenomenon called it's like academic arrogance. It's almost like when a professor is just, they think they're so smart and that they know more. You know what I'm saying?
Had a few of those. Yep.
Yeah, and it like
Yep.
they are the expert, and then when they just talk and talk, and they've just been in the life too long. They've been in the subject. They've been used to maybe being at the. I don't know. I don't know. Help me here. Maybe not the forefront, but
Well, no. Just from my perspective, what I've seen is he took Bob Lazar, who's been largely for years ostracized for his story. And his story, like I said, from what I've seen, hasn't changed much, or hasn't changed. I did say hasn't changed. We'll see, with some research if that does change. But what I'm saying is, it's like he took this guy that was outed as crazy and attached himself to that with his name, created this documentary for monetary purposes. Because that documentary, I've watched it, it doesn't explain anything. It doesn't explain shit. It just skims over kind of Bob Lazar's story, but I don't know. It just kind of shows Bob Lazar, but he's making money off that. It's not just Bob Lazar making money off that. And then anything since then with Corbell hasn't really produced anything. It's just kind of there.
I don't know what to do with that opinion. I don't know what to do. But I think
I don't know.
So, all right. So Jeremy Corbell, there are good things and some bad things, things that I would disagree with about his portrayal. And that this was originally about the UFO community and who they decide to hold up. And it's not like it's some unified decision, but
No, obviously not. Yeah.
In general, there's these people who are at the forefront, who, if anyone was interested and they go to, some person who didn't really care before, they heard about UFOs and they come check it out. And then some of these people, I mean, it's pretty iffy, and I don't think it sheds a good light on the topic when some of these people can be pretty easily, I hate the word debunked, but just refuted, and
exposed.
Exposed.
I wouldn't say he's exposed. He hasn't come out with any outlandish claims or anything like that.
No, I wouldn't say.
In my opinion,
I just think he's wrong on some things. Is what I would say.
I don't know. What I saw was more of like a creative mind, like a filmmaker wanting to bring a story to life, but claiming to be a UFO expert. He is more than I am. I mean, I'm not a UAP UFO expert by any means. This is just opinion. But what I saw from him isn't this is a bona fide, UFO expert. Who is that guy again? The Michio?
Michikaku, yeah.
Michikaku.
He's a physicist, yeah. Okay. You mind if I take a break for a second?
Yeah, me too.
All right.
3 tall beers.
Yeah. You headed to work after this?
No.
No?
No, I'm off for the day.
Oh, man.
I called in.
Okay, you just got to get back to the wife and kids?
No one's home for about 45, so
okay.
I'm good. Good to go.
Well, I'm a lonely 33-year-old man.
Oh.
So I'm good to talk as long as you are. Although we should probably end this conversation.
Yeah, I was looking at kind of like speculation, wild speculation.
Yeah.
We should end with, do you actually think they exist? And then I was actually looking into your Enigma Labs app that you were directing me to do.
Well, no, yeah, these were just notes that I thought about.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
After the fact. So, discuss the history and culture. Put your cursor on the spot because I can kind of see your little thing here.
So we were discussing like figureheads.
Oh yeah, figureheads.
We can go to like YouTube, Netflix.
Dude, I could probably go off for a second.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so talking about the different figureheads, the people that the UFO community kind of, I've been saying that they hold up, but I mean just like that, the popular people that are in this space. And on YouTube, one of them, his name is Tyler Glockner. On his channel's called Secure Team 10. He's been around for a while, since 2011. Tons of videos. Yep. And so I feel like I should say when you've been, even for news stations, like when you've been around for a while, you're gonna have a bad take once in a while. You're gonna get something wrong. You're gonna have you're just gonna be wrong. But Tyler Glockner is probably he's probably one of the worst at actually analyzing and researching. I think he's like,
fair enough, man.
He's probably sub 100 IQ, but where he's really good. No, all right, no, he's probably fuck. I don't fucking know. I don't give a shit. Fight me. Let's go. No, don't. No, I'm not. I'm not asking for violence here, but for like even on his channel in his about section, he mentions like research.
Let's take a look.
Well, what does it say? It's like towards the bottom, the place where people come for research and analysis on these topics. Yes, the words research and analyze. And am I correct?
From its humble beginnings as a mere hobby to the major UFO research channel and community you see today, Secure Team 10 has become the information source to which millions of truth-seeking individuals have come. With over 1 billion views and endless international news coverage, Secure Team has been at the forefront of revealing the truth behind the alien and UFO cover-up and all those trying to hide it. From never before seen UFO sighting news, video footage analysis, interviews with top names in the field, and everything else hidden from the public, Secure Team has documented the undeniable evidence of extraterrestrial activity on our planet and beyond via the in-depth research and analysis videos you'll find on this channel.
Yep,
subscribe, share, and know the truth.
Yes. Research and analysis videos, know the truth, undeniable. Well, it's undeniable bullshit. All right. He's a fucking smooth brain moron. Again, you have so many videos. You're not going to be right every time. You're going to trip. I mean, that's fine. That is fine. But he does it so often that.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like he's used up his hall pass, right?
Okay.
And
so what I said earlier with Corbell.
Sure.
Okay. Is it obvious to you, because you keep saying he's spouting bullshit, would the adjacent,
on the YouTube side?
Would you say that they're capitalizing monetarily because this works as a YouTube channel and it creates views and it creates income, or are they truly believing what they are saying?
So I think
is it just for the views?
I think it started off as a genuine interest for both. And
okay.
And so Jeremy Corbell is above Tyler Glockner. Tyler Glockner is like this little fucking moron over here. Jeremy Corbell, like I'd have a beer with the guy. He seemed like I would just love to argue with the guy. He seems cool, whatever. Tyler Glockner is just a moron that started off early enough in the YouTube that he got views. There was one fucking video. It was where he does his research, right? And he likes to look at the moon. He's got a lot of videos on the moon, and he's looking at this. It was like 4 or 5 months ago now. It's like this picture of the moon, and
okay. I'm looking at his most popular videos.
it might not be his most popular, but it was maybe it's 6 months ago now, or around there. Like I'm thereabouts.
Okay.
And so there is this. He's looking at the 19 either it's 1970, 71, 72. There's the spaceship is taking pictures of Mars's surface, and on the edge of one of the pictures there's like this light, and it looks like a light, and it's in one of the craters, and he's
mind-blowing alien base inside moon crater.
That's the fucking one. And
284k views, 17 minutes, thumbnail, mind-blowing alien base inside moon crater.
Do you want to know what's mind-blowing about that base?
Sure.
Is that the aliens had the lights off a couple seconds before the picture he uses in the video. So it's a series. This camera is orbiting, and so it's taking picture, and then like 30 seconds or however many seconds later, it takes another picture, and then another picture. So that crater appears in several different pictures in different spots. And so a couple seconds before, there's nothing there, and then you have that picture that he uses. There's the base or whatever, and then a couple seconds after, it disappears. Like these aliens are just flipping on lights and turning them off. And then what I did And I said, "Whoa, this is quite incredible! Like that these aliens built had this base in this one crater. Let me look at other pictures from other parts of the planet." And so I like, and dude, there are tons, and they are very high resolution for the early '70s, very high resolution. And then so I went to different pictures within this mission, and what do you know? These aliens are so fucking advanced that they know exactly where our orbiting cameras were going to be in the future, that they built every one of their little moon bases on the edge of every picture that's fucking taken. And then it's like there's these little anomalies on the picture that show up once in a while. And it's insane. And these aliens they are so advanced that in several sections of pictures they're turning lights on, like, and then turning them off a couple seconds later to fool the humans in their orbiting cameras. And they're always on the edge of the pictures. But
this guy just barely snagged the aliens in the crater, and then used it for his thumbnail.
He found the picture, and he does provide the source for the one picture.
Okay.
So he actually provides the URL for that picture that NASA put up. But then I went to that URL, and then I looked for all of it. And so it is clearly just some kind of artifact during the the scanning process. And
Photoshop?
No, it's not. No, it's not Photoshop.
No, it's real.
Yeah, well, no. That little anomaly, that's not on the moon.
That's an artifact from the camera from NASA.
It's either from or the scanning process, because when you follow the URL on the left hand side, there's like a menu thing, and you can actually look at information on how this stuff is digitized. And it kind of gives you the process and the machines that they use, and that there are some artifacts that they're not able to remove, like stuff that is on the film itself. Because this is film, it's not digital shit.
Oh wow!
So like it's
full film. So you saw an artifact within the film for a split second or two, and he took that screenshot and used that as thumbnail.
Oh well, I say film, but they're photo. Fuck.
So is it like photos as it's moving along, and it puts them together into a collaborative video?
He did. There's no video. It's just a series of pictures taken like several seconds apart.
Okay. So just screenshots as it's moving along.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so all he does is provide this one photo, and then what do I do? And his whole channel is filled with this sort of pseudo-intellectual. And he's trying to psychoanalyze like what people mean when they're talking. So there was like this NASA director relatively recently, 6 months ago, something like that. This lady who was sitting down, I think she's at like it's like a Catholic organization. She's interviewing in front of a crowd, and there are several officials, and he's trying to psychoanalyze like the words she uses, and he also again, so I have the digital version of the crazy person stuff that used to be in someone's room in the 90s on my computer here, and so I've got a bunch of different links and just stuff in my files of him even looking at like the director of NASA. I think it is. Who's the director of NASA? Dude looks like an alien. Dude, like
is he a lizard person?
Dude, he looks like a lizard person. I mean, I can't fault you for that. But so, is it the director of NASA?
Okay, administrator of NASA. That would be.
Dude.
Who is that? Bill Nelson? Incumbent?
Oh, wait. This guy, Bill Nelson, yes. Him.
Okay.
He's a fucking alien, dude. like I get it. I get it. If you look at Bill Nelson, that's an alien.
Bill Nelson. Let's get a state of address, NASA.
Yeah. So he does this speech, this address, and Tyler is just he's looking at facial expressions, and when you really dive deep into that kind of like soft science of human how people behave and stuff, you really need to know someone for a long like you need to spend extended periods of time with someone to know their tells, really.
Of course.
It's so I feel like he's watched too many like CSI or whatever cop dramas on TV where they're like,
Yep.
oh, someone scratched their head or they blinked, they looked away. He's using like this kind of pop culture, but like these tells, and trying to analyze this guy, and like he knows more than he's saying, and it's
It sounds like it's for the views. I mean, I don't blame them. YouTube is a lucrative place, and if you're looking for views, then you know, YouTube is full of that. It's just experts, heavy air quotes, in the field of experting in their field, which is their niche, and they produce these videos to get the most amount of views, and it doesn't matter if it's true or not. That's one thing I do commend on your channel is you have fun, but also you go through all the actual documentation of where you found all the information, but then you also give your own personal view at the end. You're not claiming to be some expert in the field. You're just kind of giving the information as it's been written, and then you give your opinion.
yeah. I mean, I'm not very good at it yet. I still need to find my flow, my rhythm. But
Fuck you. No, you're doing a good job, Ben.
all right, well, this is awkward because your channel sucks.
Yeah, I know. I'm fucking gross.
I'm fucking with
I
you,
still haven't figured it out yet, but whatever.
man. No, you're good.
So
So we're looking at
as far as UAPs go, do you believe that? What do you believe? I'm not even going to ask you a question. Just what do you believe? Because I'm going to share what I believe after, and then we'll get into Enigma Labs, and then we'll kind of end it there.
fuck. I think the vast majority is just misidentification.
That's a solid word.
Yeah, a lot of it is misidentification. Full on hoax. I don't think hoaxes are that prevalent, but I would say there might be a slim, a very few amount of actual unknown craft, and those might be bullshit too, dude. I don't know. I
Fair enough, man.
I hate saying that I don't know, which is why I try. Like, I'm sick and tired of
Well,
shit. Yeah,
Here, we as the human race, we work off facts, and the facts are: you eat, you live; you drink, you live; you forage, you live; you have shelter, you live. Your world is hot, it is cold, it is this, it is that. We live on receptors. The information, whether it's through our five senses, whether it's visual or auditory or smell, sound, taste, touch, all that stuff. Visually, I feel with technology we're starting to tap into people's interests more, because like your buddy on YouTube there that you're discussing, he can do that with the technology nowadays. It's hard to do that in the 60s. There are people that have had full-blown experiences that no one can identify or understand. Do you? What I feel is that they're not real. We don't have any alien aircraft that have invaded our space and they're just checking us out. I don't think we're alone, but I also don't think we just have this influx of all of a sudden now in 2023 they're just more interested in us now than they were in 1960. I don't. You talk about technology ramping up. The difference between the 60s and 2023 in terms of their technology doesn't make sense. It doesn't follow a linear path. It's literally just skyrockets from decade to decade. If they can travel between planets, you wouldn't see just a random influx visiting us, and now these are aliens and they're very interested in us. That's where I stand. I think it's just government technology or the experts, as you've said before, just kind of commenting on video that's been produced.
So you're not on board with interdimensional beings either?
Not a sudden rise of influx, but I'm not saying we are completely alone. I'm not pushing that out of the scope. There's no way that we as the human race inhabit Earth, and then Earth is this tiny little speck in this vast universe and nothing else exists.
Well, of
I
course.
I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
But I also don't believe from the 60s till now, oh, we're being visited more and we're being controlled by, alien lizard people and that kind of shit.
Yeah, that would. I agree with you there. Either they've been here for a while or they're not here at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Do I think the technology can be advanced technology from the human race? Sure. I do. I don't think the tech that's currently out right now is the tech that's been worked on the last 3 years. I think it's been decades.
So the tech we have now was around in the 70s or the 80s, I guess.
Yeah, sure. Stealth bomber is an example. We talked about it earlier. That was designed in the 60s, Lockheed Martin, and now in the 80s, I remember growing up, it was the stealth bomber. It's so cool. It bounces off, radio waves and stuff. But that tech was 20 years old, 25 years old.
I think the only way we're going to find out is that you need to enter politics, become the Prime Minister of Canada, and then tell us all what's going on.
I would do that solely just to buy a house, just so I could afford to buy a house. I have no interest in politics whatsoever. But that being said, my view and your view, there's this new app that you brought to my attention. It's called Enigma Labs. Just explain that a little bit.
So this was brought to my attention from folks up in your neck of the woods. There's this.
Oh wow!
This radio show that I've been listening to. What is their name? It's a radio show called the Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio.
Spaced Out Radio. It's run by a guy named Dave Scott, and one of his concerns was the sort of the centralization of UFO reports, which I personally to me it seems like this old. He's not even that old. He has white hair, but he's not that old, right?
Hey, shut the fuck up.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. Is that he's not that old. He just has white hair, but this he is old in his mentality. That
Dave Scott.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That this technology is not to be trusted. He doesn't trust it. The centralization of these UFO reports, what are they going to do with this data? And I suppose that's a good question. I don't know.
Mhm.
I get like, what would be the full implications of what you would do? Like if you wanted to do something nefarious, I mean, what could you do with this stuff? I think it's pretty awesome that you could have a centralized place to find this stuff. I mean, part of the problem is that so many investigative groups that are interested in this topic, they they don't communicate. And that is
Yeah.
one thing that mainstream science has, is that scientists from the United States and France or even China, even though, China kind of fucked it up with the corona stuff,
Yep.
you know, that they are able to communicate and share data, at least theoretically. And so
Mm.
this is ultimately a good thing, or could be, I suppose. Is it will help clear things up if we can all have the same data, and like, you're not working on different information from groups in your area, I'm not working on different information from Texas, and
Yep.
we can all look at the same stuff. And what is the analogy of the three blind men who are touching the elephant, and one blind man has the tail, one blind man is touching the trunk, and then one blind man is like touching the side, or like and they're trying to describe, each of them, they're blind, they're trying to describe what they have, and they don't know what they have, they don't know the totality of what they're experiencing. And so that's what centralization does.
So sharing data in a centralized, located place.
Yes.
Okay.
And the conspiracy theorists are like, they sometimes they're just infuriating. They're just they're like, the government's going to do something with it. It's nefarious, and I don't even like this weird thing. I don't know. Well,
Yep. Well, okay. So let's look at pros and cons of this, since we're just discussing. So the term centralized means, generally nowadays, means control.
Yeah.
Controlled. Now, that can be a good thing, but if it's also controlled by authorities, such as governments, can that narrative be pushed and changed by those governments?
It could, yes.
Could it be pushed and controlled by this Dave Scott guy? Let's say he, makes $1 billion company eventually out of this. Can his narrative, or his, what's a good term for that? His intentions, could those change?
So just to be clear, he is not in charge of this. He is a critic of this.
Oh,
So yeah, he's
okay. So who started this Enigma Labs, and who backs it?
Well, that's the thing. Is well, I just learned about this myself. The point
Okay.
is that there is an app that centralizes UFO reports. And so,
For those that don't know, we're talking about enigmalabs.io.
yes,
It is an app that you can actually sign up. Right now it's in beta. You sign up and you actually get into the early beta if you actually have a real interaction with a UAP or a UFO. If you don't, you join the wait list. It is what it is. But my buddy Sasquatch here is talking about a centralized place where all of your interactions with these UAPs or UFOs can get put into a library, and then the data can be extrapolated so that we can, as people,
Sure.
and as a company, they can research the different points of data.
theoretically, we should all have access to this, and you don't have to go to a bunch of different sources,
Yep.
to try and gather stuff. Like, MUFON, right? I'm sure they have their own stuff, and there are probably different other groups that have their own reports,
Yep.
And it does make things. But I get your point. A centralized centralization does. You run the risk of it being manipulated.
Mhm.
So maybe if there was something like the blockchain, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Where there is like, okay, so if there is a centralized place, I'm all for that. You need to have like a concurrent library of all things going on within these timeframes at different points in the world. It'd be nice to, to collate that data and put it in one centralized point. The issue is fact checking
Yeah.
is a big thing. You don't want just all these outlandish stories. Oh yeah, I got on Enigma Labs. It's a popularity kind of thing. Um, fact checking as far as story, your data points such as video or audio or picture
Or just reports, just first,
reports, sure, but they're going to have an illicit fact checking group behind that app. You can't just kind of send in all your stuff and we're going to collate it and then it'll be in this app, or else it's basically another iOS app being lost in the shuffle.
What might make or break this is the existence of UFOs. Like if UFOs are like
Man, if UFOs exist, this app would be inundated with logs of, oh, I saw this, I saw that, I saw that, I saw that. With the data we have now, I don't think we have enough data that's going to move that needle much, which could be a good thing at the beginning to compare notes. But if something substantial happens,
at this point it would take a craft landing on the White House lawn and an alien. At this point, that loading bar that frustrates you sometimes when you have a loading bar on your screen, and it's like in the green bar, it starts off fast and it goes across the screen and it's like whoosh, and then it kind of gets towards the end and it slows down and it slows down and it slows down, and then it never touches the end. It never touches the end, and it's like you're waiting there for 10 minutes and it's still like a fraction of a pixel away. That's kind of what the UFO phenomena feels like.
Almost, yeah.
Until, honestly, at this point, a UFO lands on the White House front lawn, or just I don't know, or like a fleet, that like Independence Day just stops over every major city.
Yep. Yeah, I get it. I mean, I commend this. They're filling a void, right? There is no location to send in your information other than call this 1-800 hotline, or make a YouTube video, or call in, or send a message to this little channel or this organization or whatever.
There's MUFON. MUFON does that, and there are probably some other organizations that do that. But having a central place where people can go, I think.
Okay, so the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON.
Yep. MUFON does that, and they do investigations.
But they don't have an app. They have.
Yeah, they're like their online reporting.
Just report a UFO.
Yep. You can contact them.
Okay.
And so, especially here in the 21st century, everyone's got a phone. Just having an app on your phone, it's more convenient, I suppose. I don't know.
Point of access.
Yeah, you need to stay abreast of the times, and MUFON, I guess, just isn't doing that. And so this Enigma Labs with their app, that's what they're doing.
Oh, cool. Well, for anyone interested, go check it out. It's enigmalabs.io. You can sign up. You can submit a sighting, and really, it's just get on the iOS app waitlist. Early community access. So it's just beginning. So go check it out.
Well, is there anything else you'd like to add? Any thoughts rolling around in that head?
I don't know, man. When- I honestly, coming back from, like an aviation background, I always think the theory of flight, the history of flight, all that stuff is interesting. Uh, you look at the physics of it behind it, but when it comes to the alien stuff, that's where I'm kind of stuck until we actually see some irrefutable proof.
I'm not. I don't want to hold you up too long, but I'm wondering if it is actually flight that UFOs are doing.
And maybe not. I mean, it could be a whole different
Well,
rule set when it comes to physics.
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So if you can go from space to the atmosphere and then underwater, that
Yeah,
that doesn't sound like flight to me. Flight is getting lift from the air, the molecules in the air,
absolutely.
being greater than what's on trying to push you down. So,
Yep.
but anyway,
You're coming from different forms of fluid. I mean, air is considered a fluid. I'm going to double check that.
well,
But
no,
as far as I'm concerned, I believe it is air fluid.
I think
Air.
flight probably has a definition that doesn't apply to UFOs. I mean,
Oh, air is considered a fluid. Anyway, sorry, what?
I'm just saying that flight, the definition of what is and is not flying, probably doesn't. UFOs probably are not flying, as we think.
They could be moving space and time.
Yeah,
Who knows?
which
I don't even
think.
know.
Yeah, I wouldn't consider it personally. I wouldn't consider that flying. But I mean, well,
Yeah.
they are above the ground. They're just
Mhm.
in a position.
Flying is displacing air. You're displacing air and moving it so that you can, like, if you have a propeller on the front of a plane, it's actually, it's almost like sucking you forward, creating a vortex and thrusting you ahead. Like it's almost like a vacuum the way it works out.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you're just looking at a different rule set of physics, and I don't believe that mankind has, discovered the exact rules of all physics. We found one linear, way to operate through, the Industrial Revolution into the Wright brothers and the flight and all this kind of stuff, theory of flight with thrust and all this kind of stuff. This could be for a complete later discussion, but I don't fully believe in the alien invasion that's just ramped up. I do believe human technology has evolved and changed, and we're just not privy to it yet. That is my own personal opinion.
Dude, I'm just as lost in the sauce as I was at the beginning of this conversation. I have no fucking clue. I have no idea. I have no idea. Yeah, no. I think a majority can just be attributed to misidentification. And
I agree with that.
I'll leave a sliver of a chance for alien craft, but until
Sure.
until hard evidence is produced, I just I can't right now.
Yeah. No, I agree. I'm not ruling it out. I don't think we can't be alone in like billions of light years, in any which direction, 360 degrees from us. We're just all of a sudden alone, and we're the only, creatures with sub creatures under us, such as, ecosystems and animals and bugs and birds and all that kind of stuff, down to amoebas. I don't think our tiny little planet is the source of all life, and nothing else exists. That's just so closed-minded.
Hey, well, I think this was fun. What do
Yeah,
you,
man.
What do you say we hit the end button